Vienna, a beautiful small city in the center of Europe, capital of Austria. A city that has been ranked 5 times most livable city on the planet. One of the best places you can be on the planet. Of course, no wonder why. This city has it all. It's livable, it's peaceful, it's safe, it's absolutely clean, people are well educated, and the quality of life is probably one of the highest on the planet. But is it really that amazing? Is it really that safe? Are there even homeless around? Like, is everybody rich and is everything luxurious? Well, let me talk about it. It is exactly 11:30 p.m. It's about to be midnight. So you and me, right now, we're gonna have a walk. So what does it feel like to have a walk in Vienna during the midnight, the darkness, the night? So stay with me, welcome back to the channel, and this is the dark side of Vienna. It is true that Vienna is amazing. Vienna is clean. Once you walk the streets, you feel safe. Everything is kind of friendly. You know, as a tourist, you're always gonna feel welcomed and safe and nice, and you know, the streets, the history. But once you become a local, then you start seeing the darker sides of any city. By the way, yes, there are like the bad districts in Vienna, and there are particularly like 2-3 districts that people say like, please don't go to this place because, you know, it's kind of shady, it's kind of not cool to walk around at night. In my channel, you might find one video regarding one of these places. This is the district of Favoriten. It's a very big district here in the city of Vienna. It's the 10th district. Yeah, it is not a secret. If you go to the 10th district, it's mostly Turkish people, Arab people, I don't know, maybe people from Africa. And yeah, that is a reality that I'm not saying that. If you walk around this district, you will see that with your own eyes. However, recently there was a friend of mine who came to Vienna and she was like, wow, I was surprised that I walked around and there are no homeless people. There are like no homeless people anywhere around the main center. And I was like, well, yeah, I have seen some. Obviously, if we compare cities, you know, from city to city, you know, the standards change. Here in Vienna, the standard is high in terms of how nice and cute the city looks like. But sometimes that brings up questions like, probably there are homeless people and what do they do with them? I mean, where do they have shelters? Where do they go? But as I said before, once you are a local, you start seeing the other side of things. And now we're gonna go closer to a district, which is the district of Neubau, which is the 6th district. Well, now that it's almost midnight, sometimes you pass by and you see, you know, people around. I'm gonna show you what I see on the way, not to single people out. This is to show that even cities like this one that look almost perfect, they have still issues that they have to figure out. Neubau is the district of the shopping, you know, but not the shopping like luxury shopping as the main district with all the luxury brands, but this is just regular shopping. You might find like anything. There is a huge, it is a huge long street, and side to side you find all shops you might need or want. But also it's the trendiest place to have a drink, to have food, to go out at night. And today it might be a perfect day to go out and have a walk, to try to have a taste of the kind of real life. Even though it's summer, so people are out because there are a lot of tourists, today is not Friday or Saturday that probably, you know, all the cities are gonna be loaded with people out because they wanna go out to, you know, hang around with friends, have a drink, etc. Today is Wednesday, so hopefully we're gonna have a grasp of the local scene. So even though it is close to midnight and even though all shops might be closed, as you can see, like shops are closed. I mean, still restaurants and bars, they are open. So obviously that kind of pulls people to go out, have a drink, and mostly during these warm summer days. So yeah, I know. I mean, it's hard to find this place kind of in solitude. Of course, and at night you start seeing people, you know, so sometimes during the daylight, tourists might miss that. But once you go at night, having your eagle eye, you start identifying some scenes that for some people are just non-existent. You know, that's the invisible people. People who are kind of hidden, covered under a layer of glamour, tourism, wealth. But once all that glamour disappears, you can see those people, the invisible people become visible, and then you can see them on plain sight. So it is true, I mean, once we start comparing two cities as, I mean, any city in South America, I'm from Colombia, so I know what poverty looks like, but also cities from the first world, you know, call it New York, call it London, call it Paris. It is not completely, let's say, settling, completely nice or safe to walk around by yourself. Let me explain what I mean. Cities like these might feel safe, you know, you walk the streets like this one, even though it's midnight, you see people around, you see, you know, some life, even though it's just weekday, but yeah, there are tourists around, but things change drastically if you just take one street, different street from the main avenue. Let's take this one. Let me show you what I mean. You leave the main avenue, the main street, the trendy area, and things quickly got quiet, but not a quiet of, you know, like, oh, lovely silence. It's a quiet that you are like, yes, I know that this is Vienna, you know, beautiful city, super safe. You know, you rarely hear stories of people, you know, having any type of issue at night, but then things get a little bit too quiet to the point that is like, yeah, I hope that I'm not the first one, you know, I hope that God doesn't use me as an example of don't go around alone, don't walk around at midnight anywhere, not even Vienna. And by the way, don't be confused. You know, many people are all the time asking, so is there no mafia in Vienna? Are not like gangs? Are not like, you know, those situations that are kind of common in other countries that have some social difficulties or things to, you know, to solve in terms of, you know, criminality or vandalism, etc., etc. What you have to understand is there are mafias in countries, such perfect countries as Switzerland or Austria, for example, because they are small. Somehow it's easy for the government and for the, you know, law enforcement to keep the city controlled. There is a very different type of criminality or mafias in these countries. And these mafias are not armed. I mean, they don't have, you know what I mean? There is not much like violence against citizens. It's not that you're gonna be walking the street and somebody's gonna come and, you know, take all your belongings. Maybe that might not happen. The things that actually happen in these countries are kind of hidden to all of us. We would never notice. And this has to do more with banking, taxes, and all this type of stuff. You know, I mean, not for nothing, there are all these criminals around the world opening banks in Austria and Switzerland, because that is where the mafia is. But this comes back like years ago when Austria or Switzerland, they started serving as the funding countries. You know, people, they were untouchable somehow. You know that these countries, mostly Switzerland, are very neutral countries, so they do not actively participate from any political or, you know, armed, you know, altercation with all the countries, but they are here keeping the wealth and the money from those who are actually funding, let's say, you know, activities that are not completely legal. And even though people like me, I've been here for 3 years, I pay a huge chunk from my salary for taxes. It's insane. Sometimes I feel sad when I see my paycheck at the end of the month and I'm like, whoa, they take a huge piece for taxes. But then you see the city, it's clean, it's nice, it's lovely. And somehow in your mind, you're like, yeah, but that's why I'm paying so much for, you know, to have this quality of life. And all around the city, you see the wealth, the royalty, you know, the palaces, the stories about the kings and princesses around the city of Vienna. You know, all the time, constructions everywhere, new projects everywhere, but somehow that is the layer that has been sold to our eyes. We see a city that somehow it looks growing, it looks in constant development. But on the other hand, you have all citizens paying for that. All of us, we are paying huge loads of money. And then you might hear the stories of the richest people in Austria getting just richer and richer. So, you know, that's the type of criminality, that's the type of mafia that you might experience in countries like this, the perfect countries. I mean, I would lie to you if I say that I don't feel safe walking around, or if I put myself in the shoes of a woman walking around at night, I would say that the city of Vienna might feel absolutely safe. However, that doesn't mean that things don't happen. Yes, it is true that you can be having a cafe, you can be, I don't know, having lunch, you put your cell phone on the table and people might not take it, it's not gonna disappear. People here are very unaware, in contrast I'm from Colombia, a place where you can just not close your eyes a second because things happen. When there is inequality, when there are people with, not many chances in life, well, things happen. However, the fact that somebody is not stealing from you in a violent way doesn't mean that nothing is gonna ever happen to you. Open your eyes all the time, mostly when you walk at night, mostly when you are in the metro stations at night. This is just a rule of thumb. And yes, I have heard a couple of stories from those districts, the district of Favoriten, which is the 10th district, or the district of Simmering, which is the 11th district. In Simmering, there were a couple of cases where there was a little gang just, day and night going to these little shops like kebab places, pizza places, and they were literally stealing from them. Woo, the light. Now, literally, we are past midnight, and now we're gonna get closer to the main center, the main ring of the city. And it's gonna be funny to walk around the main center just during midnight, because I have the image in my head, like the first district, and it's gonna look different because Stephansplatz, or where the main cathedral is, the main square, the main ring of the city, usually is just overcrowded with tourists, with people shopping, eating. And now it's past midnight, probably when I get closer to 1 a.m. PM. 1 a.m. when we get there. So we'll see what the city looks like. So right now I'm looking for a nice location right in front of the Hofburg Palace, the royalty, the Hofburgs, all the history of the wealth and royals, kings, princesses in Austria. And I'm looking for this location because I'm about to throw a bomb. This is an opinion that probably is gonna affect and offend many people. I'm sorry, it's an opinion, just hear me out. When we talk about South America, the type of violence and criminality that, is just insane. That makes me deeply sad because my family is there, I was born there. But the type of violence that you have there is a very physical violence, You can be walking around the street and somebody's gonna grab your phone, and probably there's gonna be, I don't want to say it because this is YouTube, but bam bam, chuku chuku, you can get hurt or you can just get unalived for just stealing from you, 1 coin, just to steal, just because of your iPhone, your life can just end right there, on the spot. On the other hand, when we talk about, I'm not going to say North America, I'm going to say specifically United States. I'm not thinking about, obviously there is this physical violence, all around New York and Los Angeles. But, lately it's been about, one person just unaliving many. And yes, I'm sorry about people from United States, but this is a country that I don't feel safe. Like when there are masses of people, like festivals, concerts, like there is always somebody from a roof, somebody who is just totally insane, going there and unaliving everybody. So this is also a different type of violence. It's like a mass violence. Somebody one day, is totally fucked up, didn't have a good night, and next day is waking up with unaliving people, sending people to the other side of the life, I would say. And now in contrast, places like, countries like, let's say again, Switzerland, Austria, let's say Germany, up to, some extent, Poland, I would say. I also lived in Poland for 4 years, beautiful and safe country. But these countries, even though you might not face this physical violence where somebody's gonna unalive you just to steal, a couple of coins from your pocket, which can happen, obviously, anything can happen. These are countries where I have found that people might have more like mental issues, people who are crazy and even though they won't unalive like masses of a lot of people, sometimes you can be in the metro station and sometimes it's lonely, at night. Once you go out from the bar, you went out with your friends to have a beer, then you go to take the metro. The metro stations are very lonely sometimes. Yes, it feels safe, but again, you feel me? Is that type of safety that is like lonely, quiet, but is way too quiet. Like if you scream, nobody would hit you. And it can happen that you are just minding your business, just sitting in the metro, totally lonely, and then you look straight to you, and there is just one single individual looking at you like crazy, like looking with, staring at you without blinking into your eyes. That makes you feel like, whoa, something's gonna happen. I either confront the person or I just leave the Uber and take a different one. So, that's the type of sometimes insane type of mindset, people who are a little bit kind of psychos, weirdos that we might have around these countries. And by the way, funny thing, this is the other case, bikes. In these countries, this happened to me also in Berlin. Don't leave your bike outside. These places like, probably Amsterdam or Holland, like the Netherlands in general, is the perfect example of people using bikes. People just cycle everywhere. And everywhere you see a post or a bike parking place is full of bikes, and you feel like, oh my God, look at that, a huge group of bikes all together, all safe. And then you start looking at bikes individually, and you see that many of them are missing tires, missing the saddle, missing parts. So that's another type of criminality. Nobody's gonna go around and take your bike out of your hands. But once you leave your bike unattended in a random place in the street, next day when you take your bike to go work, well, you see that there is one tire less on your bike. And right now we have just entered the first ring, the main district. This is one of the two streets leading to Stephansplatz, which is the center. And even though you see people around, you also feel how lonely it is. I mean, this is not normal. Usually when you walk around here, like you have to start like dodging people side to side. Sometimes you crash and bump into people. And this is not normal. You can see that it's kind of, it's late. And let me show you. Look, that's grabbing people, noise, and look at this. Totally lonely. Look. That's the issue with tourism. Look at it. I mean, but what do I get from this? Well, that tells us that as a tourist, when you go to the main places, the main streets, it's all colorful, loud, people, nice. But once you go around, look, it's literally, I'm just midway, I'm just kind of going to the other block, to the other side of the street. The environment changes, it's quiet. Super quiet. There is actually absolutely nobody around here. So, those are the two sides of the city. And especially for women, so is it safe to go around? Is it okay to just walk around by myself? The answer is yes and no. Yes, it is true that these cities are absolutely safe. You can feel, welcomed and just feel, you can just walk around and explore. Always, don't get too comfortable, don't close your eyes. Things are always happening. People are always watching you. Finally, we have just arrived to Stephansplatz, the square of St. Stephan. And you can see how many tourists are around, walking these times, because they all have cameras. They are taking pictures of the magnificent and beautiful cathedral. This one, beautiful cathedral of St. Stephan. It's called in German Stephansdom, like the cathedral St. Stephan. But I want to pass by this place, which is highly touristic, even at this time, which is actually now 1:10 a.m. Highly touristic, but many people are just staying around here in different hotels or Airbnbs. And obviously their plan right now in summertime is just walk around the city and obviously take advantage of places like these that are relatively safe. They walk around, doesn't matter the time, doesn't matter almost anywhere you can walk around. So maybe that's something that you cannot do, or they cannot do in their countries. So they feel a little bit like, oh my God, easygoing, safe, just going around without pressure, going around with this sense of safety. But I'm gonna cross this place towards Schwedenplatz, because Schwedenplatz is one of those places that has, kind of darker story. And it is late when the cart that cleans the streets start passing by. That car only goes at night. And yeah, there it is, and here we are. Some time ago in Schwedenplatz, I feel like I'm saying it wrongly. I think it's kind of close, but not perfect. Schwedenplatz, Sweden? Yeah, Schwedenplatz. Some time ago, something really bad happened there. There was a guy, I'm not really sure, there was a group of guys who literally, they took their little boom boom toy and started analyzing people right on the street. Literally everything happened on plain sight during daylight. People were just walking around the streets, and these guys or this guy have to be, I don't remember exactly how the story goes, but there is this guy who starts boom, 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 everyone right there on the street. It is something insane. So this is what I'm saying. Everything looks nice and cool and quiet, but when it happens, it happens. So you have to be alert and you have to be paying attention to your surroundings all the time. You know, let me talk about my own country. You know, in Colombia, you know, society, criminality, violence sometimes is out of hand. And in history, I'm not going to repeat all the history of Colombia. And, you know the story. And sometimes there were times that where it was bad, really bad. Because you might be thinking like, oh, Austria, that's just a bad example of, you know, Austria at night. What can happen? But look at this. Places like Bogota. Bogota has 8 million people. The whole country of Austria has 9 million. Do you get that? So when something happens here, it's just monumental, it's just like huge, it's insane. For example, in the country of Austria, last year, if I'm not wrong, it was last year or 2 years ago, there was this massive Nightlife thingy that happened in a school in the city of Graz. Probably you have heard about that, and that was like national news for 1 year. And by the way, this is it. There are a lot of people around, a lot of teenagers around, but this is Friedenplatz. Something happened here, you know, some time ago. Some people were unalived. It was a very dark moment in the city of Vienna because that really doesn't happen here. This is the place. Right now, it feels like totally party place because there are groups of young people just walking around, probably going into or going out from discos. Also, we have the Danube right there. Let's check it out. So right now, we are just very close to the Danube. So this one is really cool in case you want to travel by boat from Vienna to Bratislava, from Vienna to Budapest, or from Vienna to Prague. There are the boat and, you know, services, transportation that you can take from here. Probably one of the worst ideas that you can do is walking around or under bridges in any city. And that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. The place of Austria has not suffered from, you know, huge levels of violence and criminality, and yeah, therefore is quality of life is amazing. People come here because they want to be in calm, in peace, you know, safe, perfect. But it doesn't mean that things have not happened. I'm just gonna leave you with the name and the plot of the story, then you can go check it out and do your own research. There was this girl, one of the biggest scandalous stories, like criminal type of Netflix crime documentary that ever happened in Austria. It was about Natasha Kampusch. Natasha Kampusch was a little girl when she was abducted. She was kidnapped. That is already bad. That is already like horrible. But that's only half of the story. The other half is that she was kept. By the way, the perpetrator, the person who kidnapped her, was her own dad, her father, and he constructed a basement in his house where he kept her. Now, we're still not done. Kidnapped. Then she was, the father locked her down in the basement. And to finish the story even worse, the dad had babies. So he was, I don't want to say it in YouTube, he was having, he was having approaches to her without consent, you know what I mean? So, and she was probably underage, and he was abusing her like physically day and night to the point that she got pregnant with babies. And these babies, at least in the first stages of life, they grew up in the basement. That is insane. So a father kidnapped the daughter and abused her, and the daughter has also babies on a basement locked in the house for around 15 years. Look it up, search about it. There is even a movie, I think, about it, Natasha Kampusch. And that whole story happened here, in one of the best countries on the planet. Always the haters are gonna hate. I'm not saying Vienna is bad, that you have to be scared. No, I'm not saying that you should be scared of Vienna, that Vienna has a very dark side that you should not explore. No, I mean, that happens anywhere. You know, the lonely streets, beautiful place, I feel safe, but I have to keep my eyes open because things have happened, and even in the most beautiful places, there is danger anywhere. This time of the night is just a little bit unreal because you have this one of the main streets full of shops and stuff, but you just take a different street, one of those little paths, kind of shortcut towards a new different world, and it's just silent. It's just crazy, crazy silent everywhere, all around, all around. And for sure, one of the advantages of a city like Vienna is that the density in terms of population is very low. So it makes the job of police men and women easier. I mean, it's easier to control, when there are not so many people as I told you, like only Bogota has 8 million people. Like, yeah, we just can't. I'm walking now towards Karlsplatz, because first I thought about taking the metro, but metro this time might be, passing by weird times. I might have to wait 20 minutes at just one of the stations. So I'm gonna take a little walk, and maybe we can take, instead of the metro, which is underground, maybe we can grab the tram, which is like on the street. Now, I want to really clarify something. Many of us, when we are in, Latin America, in South America, when we see people, I mean, there are foreigners, and people come from, different countries. We are in, for example, me, I'm kind of from the center of Colombia, from the coffee region, and sometimes it's highly touristic. There are beautiful things and nature and places and food to try and places to visit. So it is a very appealing destination for many people from North America and from Europe. And once they are walking around our cities, we see them walking around with the big cameras hanging, just huge cameras like this, and taking pictures. And we see them exposing their, I don't know, maybe jewelry, chains, or their latest iPhones. And the first thing that as Latin Americans, whoa, that person is going to be stolen from, that person doesn't know where she or he is, that person is just exposing themselves, that person is just not paying attention to anything. So somehow we blame people, and that's not okay. And yeah, right now I would like to even apologize for thinking that way. We are like, oh, that person is just silly, that person is stupid because, walking around, a city like Bogota, a city like Medellin, a city like Buenos Aires, a city like Rio de Janeiro, with the cameras, with the phones, not paying attention, that person is gonna get stolen from. Yeah, but they don't know that. Sometimes they come from places like Switzerland, like Austria, like Vienna, where, nothing really happens. If we take in time the things that have happened a long time, it's almost nothing. So people are very unaware of the type of violence, the type of criminality and vandalism that we have to experience in South America. So it's not their fault. They don't know this thing of going to any place and having this need of hiding things. You cannot show this, you cannot show that, because somebody's going to be watching you, somebody's going to steal from you. So sometimes it's not their fault. And then people might think the same about me, but opposite direction. Sometimes I'm very aware of things. I'm sitting in a place having a coffee. A couple of my friends, they have been like, yeah, but chill, you are in Vienna. That is also not my fault. I grew up in an environment where you have to keep your eyes open all the time. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of people around you. In Latin America, somebody is too nice, comes to you too nice to talk. Whoa, keep your distance because something might be going on. Nobody's just too friendly for free. Nobody's just too kind for free. Sometimes people, bad people, I'm just talking about the bad people, they want something out of you and they try to fish. So that's why we have this filter of stay away, I know, calm down. Sometimes I feel too comfortable, that makes me feel unsafe because I'm like, whoa, what am I doing? Open your eyes, what am I doing? You're walking around a city, like past midnight, you want to go into a forestry, bushy area, that's just a bad idea. And this is just common sense. Don't do it, never. As I said before, danger can be anywhere and it's never your fault. This goes mostly for women. It's never your fault. It's not about the way you're dressed. It's not about that you cannot be walking around freely in some areas at night. No, you should be free to do, yeah, literally walk wherever you want, dress as as you wish, and that should not be an invitation for abuse. That should not be an invitation for any unwanted visitors, nothing. But what I'm saying is, we all, men and women, we all can, sometimes we put ourselves into situations that we can avoid, Danger can be anywhere and it's never our fault. I'm just chilling, I'm just recording a video. Why would something bad happen to me? But I can be smart enough, clever enough, not to put myself into a situation that I know that potentially can have a negative outcome on myself. Simple as, oh, I have these ways to go home and I decide to go through the bushy area, the dark, it's bad. I just try not to do it. Don't do it, just be safe. You meet a stranger right in the street, in the pub, offers you a drink, is super nice, is super cute. And it can be a guy, super handsome guy, it can be a nice, attractive woman. That's the moment that life is testing you. If it's too good to be true, it's because, they want something from you. Just say no. Be smart enough not to put yourself into a situation that is gonna turn badly on yourself. Okay, and here we are. According to the timetables, the tram that I need to go home is gonna take around 6 minutes. So here we are. Let's just wait that it comes some time because I'm kind of tired. Yeah, definitely you would not feel unsafe in the public transportation, at least in the tram. It is not crowded at all. People are traveling this time, going home, same as me. So I would say it is absolutely safe. I would say that it doesn't feel bad. However, in tram stations, in metro stations, it's always nice to, keep aware of your surroundings. You never know. And now, once again, the whole environment changes. Far away from the city center, far away from the tourism, only, the local, boring, normal life of Vienna. Nobody around because it's almost going to be 2 a.m. Yeah, so for sure, I cannot deny that it's a luxury to live in cities like this. In cities where actually I'm so confident to go around showing that nothing happens instead of showing you how bad the city is. So I do feel grateful for experiencing this in my everyday life. Again, I'm always aware, I'm trying to be very attentive and aware of my surroundings, people around me. But that's quality of life. And as I said, sometimes I feel, even if there is mafia or not involved in taxes, in banking, in all this, financial world, I pay a huge amount of money from my hard work along the year, but I can enjoy from walking around without really paying attention to my surroundings, like in a paranoid way, that I can enjoy from having a camera in my hand and just nobody's gonna, hopefully nobody's gonna pass and just grab it out of my hand. My dears, that's gonna be everything for this video of tonight. Thank you so much for watching and walking around with me. Just a question for those who have been in Vienna before. What was the experience? Did you feel safe? Did you feel like happy? Did you walk around with no issues? Or actually something happened to you in the city of Vienna? Whatever it is, good or bad, please leave it in the comments. I wish you all a very nice evening. Thank you so much for everything. Please do not forget to subscribe, to like, to comment. That's gonna help me a lot. And me, nothing. Almost, like 2 a.m. enjoying the super empty streets of Vienna, only for me. This is probably one of those first times because this is these streets are busy during the daylight. Walking, middle of the street, enjoying life. That's good. My people, have a lovely evening or have a good morning in case you are watching this video in the morning. Thank you for everything. And yeah, subscribe, comment. I'm gonna read you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.